Have you ever stopped to think that maybe your life isn't working out because you outsourced the script? Yes. While you're out there waiting for signs from the universe, the world keeps moving forward, written by those who sit down, face their own chaos, and turn pain into direction. The truth no one likes to admit? It's not motivation you lack, it's method. And what if I told you that a simple pen could change the course of your story more than any productivity app ever could? What Quentin Tarantino understood, and what few people realize, is that transformation begins in the silence of the night. No applause, no deadlines, no audience, just you, alone, doing what no one else can do for you, writing your own liberation. And no, this isn't some cheap motivational talk. It's conscious action. It's practical philosophy. It's grabbing your mental chaos by the throat and shaping it into form, structure, correction, and direction. If you feel like you're stuck on repeat, maybe it's time to stop asking for advice and start listening to yourself. In this video, you'll learn how the Tarantino method of introspective writing can pull you out of autopilot and put you back in charge of your own story. But fair warning, once you see it, you'll never be able to lie to yourself the same way again. It was just another ordinary night. The kind where the silence in the house feels heavier than the pillow itself. Quentin Tarantino sat there in the dark, not staring at the ceiling, but staring at himself. Up until that moment, he was just another guy hiding behind the routine, pushing mistakes under the rug, pretending not to notice the patterns. But something clicked that night. A spark of discomfort turned into an inner wildfire, and he decided, with full clarity, that he didn't want to be the same man when the sun came up. Some people wait for tragedy, for a breakdown, for life to push them into change. Tarantino didn't wait for any of that. He anticipated the pain. Sitting in a wobbly chair, he scribbled down the flaws he'd been repeating like mantras. Laziness, arrogance, impulsiveness. Nothing sugar-coated, just raw truth. That turning point wasn't born from applause, but from the courage to face himself without excuses. And that's where what we now call conscious action begins. It's when you stop saying, "One day I'll change," and instead you start at 2:47 a.m. in the silence with no audience. No applause, just you and your decision. Because here's the thing. There's a strange kind of magic in late-night silence. It strips away the masks. And in that raw, unfiltered stillness, what would later be called the Tarantino Method was born. A kind of introspective writing that starts in discomfort and ends in transformation. But what exactly was he doing in those lonely, brutal hours? Tarantino transforma as madrugadas em laboratorio de esse mesmo. In quanto o mundo dormia, ele fazia algo que poucos tem coragem. Sentava como caderno e uma brutal honestidade. Nada de phrases bonitas. Ele escrevia exatamente onde estava errando. Era como assistir à própria vida em câmera lenta, parando cena por cena pra ver onde falhou. Neo pra se punir, mas pra entender onde podia melhorar. Ele neo anotava apenas os tropicos. Ele elam. Definia acos práticas pra cada erro cometido. Se procrastinava. Escrevia o que faria no dia seguinte as 9h em ponto. Se reagia com arrogância. Ensaiava como pedir desculpas. Essa não era só uma escrita introspectiva. Era treino pra mudança real. Ele entendia que autoconhecimento sem aplicado é só ego massageado. E esse não era mais o roteiro que ele queria viver. Aqui entra ponto que quase ninguém fala. Neo adianta-se esconder em livros ou frases motivacionais. É preciso parar, olhar para esse como frigidarum diretor cortando cenas ruins de filme ruim, e escrever com tinta viva os ajustes. Essa rotina de reflexão noturna viru o terreno fértil onde a semente de supercao pessoal brotava. Mas pra essa filosofia de transformação vingar, e ele precisava de algo mais profundo, uma dirico. Norte, uma lente filosofica, that it wasn't by chance that Tarantino dove in Nietzsche and Dostoevsky. He wasn't looking for easy answers. He was looking for depth. Nietzsche taught him that suffering isn't an obstacle, it's a ladder. And Dostoevsky? He showed him the human soul as a battlefield, where light and shadow are always at war. That's when it hit him. Real transformation demands pain. It demands confrontation. It demands the creation of self. While most people run from discomfort, Tarantino chose to turn it into fuel. Fueled by existential philosophy, he stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started asking, "What am I going to do with this now?" He read Thus Spoke Zarathustra, like it was a screenplay for his own soul, underlining each sentence, like clues to escape a prison he didn't know he'd built. With every insight, a new action. With every pain, a new version of himself was born. And that's where the game shifts. When you start using the thoughts of great philosophers as practical tools, your life stops being an accident and starts becoming a project. It's not about sounding smart. It's about thinking better to live better. Tarantino realized he didn't need a coach, a guru, or yet another online course. He needed clarity, and for that, he created a ritual, simple, powerful, born in the silence of the night. It was always the same ritual. A pen, a worn-out notebook, and the silence of the night as the soundtrack. Tarantino called it his soul's editing room. He wrote it all down. The impulsive behaviors, the unresolved conversations, the choices that kept pulling him away from who he wanted to become. It wasn't about complaining about life. It was about taking ownership as the screenwriter of his own story. And if something was wrong, he'd rewrite it. The Tarantino Method isn't complicated, but it takes guts. The secret? Split the page in two. On one side, everything you did wrong in the last 24 hours. On the other, concrete actions to fix each item. Example, if you yelled at someone, write down, call and apologize by noon tomorrow. If you procrastinated at work, define small, clear action steps. It's a transformation script, page by page. And why does this method work? Because it forces you to face what your mind keeps trying to bury. It drags chaos out of the fog and into the light. When you write, you give shape to what was just mental noise. And when you write with intention, you begin real change. But here's the thing, writing beautifully isn't enough. You have to act. And that's what led to the next phase in this process of self-reconstruction. Tarantino understood one simple truth that most people still ignore. Writing is just the beginning. It's useless to have notebooks full of good intentions if you don't get up and make them real. His breakthrough came the moment he chose to act on what he had written, even if he was scared, even if he was tired, even if he had no idea if it would work. He didn't wait for motivation. He moved as if it were already in his pocket. That now famous phrase, "Put your ass in the chair and write," became a kind of mantra. Because at the end of the day, life change doesn't happen in thought. It happens in movement. Tarantino didn't just want to understand his emotions or use self-awareness as a philosophical hobby. He wanted transformation. And real transformation demands action. It demands exposure. It demands failing forward. That's where the most powerful concept kicks in. The creation of self, not as a poetic idea, but as a project of daily execution. He became the character and the director at the same time. And so can you. Start with what you have. A worn-out notebook, an empty night, a solid decision. Because every transformation begins like this. Small, lonely, and invisible. But if you keep going, the world will notice. And now tell me this. How much longer are you going to live a story you didn't even write? How many versions of yourself are you still going to abandon? Out of fear of acting, laziness to reflect, or shame of starting over, the method is here. Simple, direct, powerful, but it only works for those who get their hands dirty. Or better yet, they're paper-filled. What are you going to write today that might change your tomorrow? What mistake will you face head-on? What action will you take before this day ends? Before everything stays exactly the same? Tell me in the comments. What's the first step you're writing down now? I want to read it, reply to it, and most of all, see you in motion. If this video hit home, if it stirred something deep inside, then don't leave it for later. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. Because around here, we don't wait for miracles. We build, word by word, action by action, ready to rewrite your story.